white people are under attack today, like
Hmm.
I've never seen before, and especially white Christian men.
Right.
Um, and I've noticed that white people are blamed for everything, all the losers, they blame white people for it. They call it racism, all that mess, which is not true. How do you feel about white people being under attack? To the point whites are afraid to speak up, they're afraid to disagree, they're afraid of anything. What do you think about white people being attacked, and what should white people do to change that?
Right. Well, I mean, I there's my opinion that could get you banned, so I'm going to leave that there.
Right.
I won't even touch that. I know what's actually going on, but yes, people, white men especially, are under attack because it's white men who uh, cause revolutions. It's white men who can take back their country. It's white men who defend the country. So obviously, you attack them. You know, they've managed to make women undesirable to be wives. So now you don't have women encouraging their husbands. I was actually talking to a South African farmer, and you know they're under massive attack
Oh, yes.
in South Africa. And he had said, we had gotten off the stream, and he had said, you know, women need to be the encouragers. He was like, women play a massive role in this fight for freedom. If you can just stand behind your man and encourage them, because when you're fighting out against the world, you need your home to be peaceful and your wife to be encouraging you, right? But men don't really have that going on for them. And then you have the forces at B, the forces that are controlling our government, controlling our
Right.
politicians, etc. You have them with a plan to get to demoralize the white man. And I believe this has been a subversion that's been going on, you know, for decades, possibly maybe since World War One, possibly earlier. You know, it's just whenever these people took control and they have a particular gripe against white men, because again, you take out the men, you can take over the country.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I was growing up, and I grew up under Jim Crow law down in Alabama on a plantation, all that good stuff, white people didn't have fear. And in those days, we were taught to treat each other the way we would like to be treated. It has nothing
Right.
to do with color or anything. There were bad people and decent people. And we did that. But now white people have fear. Where does fear come from? Because God said He doesn't give us a spirit of fear. Where does fear come from?
Well, I mean, God doesn't give us a spirit of fear, but at the same time, you know, when you can have your life ruined because you step out of line, you offend somebody on accident, especially as a white male, like, you know, I feel like I've gotten away with it a little bit easier just because I'm a female. But if I was a white man that had done this, it would have probably gone even worse for me, to be honest. So I feel like there's fear because there's actual repercussions. You know, people say cancel culture is dead. Sure. Try and throw out a slur and see how well that goes for you.
Right.
See how dead cancel culture actually is, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so I think there's a legitimate fear of being attacked by people. I think there's a legitimate fear of being called a racist, being called this, that, and the other. All these labels they want to assign people to dissuade them from speaking out. Again, this is even years in the making. We're just at the end of the line here,
Yeah.
where years of demoralization, years of subversion has caused this fear within people, and it's a legitimate fear. It's a fear of losing your home. If you lose your job, you can't pay your mortgage. Your wife will leave you, you know, etc. So I think that's what the fear is from the very real repercussions of speaking out, of being proud of your race. I mean, you can't say I'm proud to be white. You can say I'm proud to be every other race under the sun, but you can't say that. So, and why can't we say that exactly? Well, it's because you will have your life destroyed. You will be debanked. You will be put on a no-fly list, especially if you talk about certain demographics. But you know, it is what it is, and I think the fear comes from a legitimate place. But at the end of the day, we need to not be fearful, because instilling that fear is how they've conquered us, you know. And if
Yes.
we can overcome that and get back to our Christian roots and be like, you know, we're the lion, we're following the Lion of Judah. Like, what are we afraid of? You know, we've got God on our side, so let's stop being afraid.
This country was founded and created by white men. It
Yes.
was it was God gave them the ability, because they believed in God, to create the greatest country on this side of heaven, and they had to endure things that I can't even imagine. having to deal with it. But yet, and white people own the country. They made a mistake by inviting other people into the country. And in this country, all the races are accusing white people, just as one group, of being their problem. And it's mind blowing for me to see that. They blame nobody else but the white man. And no one says, no, that's not true. That's not right. It's not true. No one says anything about it. And it's not going to get better if somebody don't start speaking up about it.
Right. And that's why I encourage, conservatives and right wingers and people who are Republican, they're very concerned with optics and how things look. But at the same time, you have to have firebrands out there. You have to have people who are saying offensive things. You have to have people out there, saying, I'm proud to be white, even though it might be a little bit impolite. You have to have those firebrands to get conversations going. So I
Yeah.
think we need to encourage all sorts of voices, and stop fed jacketing people. Like you'll see people go to rallies and they're like, oh, they're all feds or oh, they're all this and that,
Yeah.
and it just hurts the movement in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, white men are definitely under attack and they founded this country. And, the biggest mistake was letting in subversive elements to come in. And then those subversive elements encouraged the clergy plan. They encouraged mass migration. They
Yeah.
promoted this idea of we're the melting pot, which that's not the case, but
Yeah.
they've created that in our mind to make us feel guilty if we expect this to be our country. They've instilled this guilt in us so that we cannot dare to stand up and even think it's our country because, well, you've been told your whole life this is a melting pot. We're supposed to be the world's nanny and take everyone in.
Amazing. That's amazing. I have I don't know if you know this or not, but 7 years ago I started White History Month. Are you aware of that?
I heard something about it. I'm not too familiar with it though. That was 7 years ago.
Yeah. And so what July is White History Month. Every July we
Okay.
celebrate the month of July, White History Month. And the reason I did it in July is that July just feels white. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
It's summer.
It's summer, 4th of July. Come on.
Yeah.
That's as white as it
Vacation
gets.
time, relaxing time. That's so white. And so
Yeah, going out on boats.
right. And so, and another reason I started because I think that it's horrible in the way that the people of color are destroying white history. The people who made the country great, they're destroying, especially after that attack upon America by Black Lives Matter, who are worse than the KKK or anyone else should ever be, right? They're destroying statues and monuments and books and everything that remind us of who made the country so great and why. And so I want to remind the people in the month of July and always that white people made the country. These people who are destroying it, they haven't created or made a country good anywhere in the world. They're all trying to come here because we're a Christian nation founded by white people, and yet we're allowing them to come in and destroy. It's like inviting someone into your home, your family member or friend, come and stay for a minute, and they destroy your household. They take over and destroy. I just don't think we need to sit back and just do nothing about it. So that's why I started White History Month.
Well, good for you, a true warrior. But no, that's true. And I think you had said earlier how you've noticed this attack on white men is really ramped up recently.
Yeah,
I think it's because, like what you were saying, white men are finally waking up. Like they've taken it. The white men are like the lion, and they've allowed these jackals to nip at their heels for years and years, and they've just kind of taken it. Meanwhile, they're the lion. Like, come on.
yeah,
If they rose up, they would. These people wouldn't. These invaders wouldn't stand a chance. And they've been nipping at us and poking the bear this whole time, but the day of that is coming to an end. I can feel that there's a strong nationalist movement rising up. That's the strongest sentiment that I'm aware of right now amongst young people, young white males, because they're sick of being persecuted. They're sick of being told
right.
that they suck. They're sick of having their rights stripped away. They're sick of watching, their Confederate monuments taken down. I mean, my
Yeah,
mom, when she was young and in high school, they all the southern states on their flags, they had the stars and bars there. Well, that was taken away. I mean, at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, that's part of our heritage and our history. So people are getting fed up with that. And as people start to wake up, as white men in particular start to take on this nationalist, viewpoint where they're like, wait a minute, this is my country and you're abusing me in my home. So why is this?
I
You're going
think
to see the attacks rise up, and you're going to see it get intensify and get worse because they got to try to quell this rebellion.
that's why I encourage white people to drop their anger, because when you
Mm-hmm.
don't have anger, you can see clearly how to do the right thing at the right time, and in that you cannot fail. So I encourage all people to drop their anger, but especially white American. I tremble at the idea. I read some report, and I reported on my radio show that in some at some point white people will become the minority in America because they're not having babies anymore. They are not producing the way they should, and that white people are going to become the minority. I tremble at that idea because the people of color have not done anything to make America great. They have not added to the country to make it better. I can see it if they were making the country better for all, but that's not happening. And I tremble at the idea that white people would not be leading the country at some point.
Right. Well, I know. I mean, and that's the point. That's the point of the Kalergi plan. That's the point of replacement migration, is because they know if they bring in people from other countries,
Yeah.
third world countries where they're used to having 7, 8, 9, 10 kids, or people from Muslim countries where they have multiple wives. So now, I mean, you can have what, 20 to 50 kids. They know that that's easy, like a few generations, and we're
Yeah.
toast.
What a
They're
mess.
trying to. Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're encouraging abortion. White women are getting abortions left and right and killing the babies that they are having. And then even married couples, which this has always been a gripe of mine. I'm like, you're married and you're not even having kids. You're
Right.
these married without kids couples, or you have one child. I don't understand. So we're gonna
I
have to encourage that.
I totally agree. What the purpose to get married is to have babies. How are
Right.
you going to get
Exactly.
married and have no babies or have one or two? And
Yeah.
and in the good old days, it wasn't that way. White people had a bunch of babies.
Yeah.
It wasn't one or two babies. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
I
let,
know. I don't know why that's the case. I guess it's just the way society has changed, and they've discouraged white people from having kids. It's looked down on. I mean, my mom had 5 kids.
yeah.
Anytime we would go out, I remember going to Costco, and we would always get looks, or people would make comments like, "Whoa, you've been busy." It's almost like shaming moms who actually have lots of kids.
Yeah.
And as somebody who came from a big family, I have actually seen that firsthand. So I think women especially, they see that and they're like, well, I don't want to be against the status quo. Just like in the 70s, women were discouraged from breastfeeding because it wasn't trendy. It was looked down on like, oh, that's trashy. That's
Right.
like trailer trash to breastfeed your kids. And they all put their kids on formula. And now all those people have cancer. So it's just people follow the leader, especially women. That's why they need strong men to lead them, to be like, no, honey, you're breastfeeding our children. We're not letting them, be raised like some little unhealthy person who's going to die of cancer. Come on.
What a mess.